On this cloudy Friday evening, I finally went to the theater to see Supergirl while it was still playing, and I walked out after about 40 minutes. The movie itself felt strangely hollow, but what really stayed with me was the press tour that had been running for weeks. Milly Alcock, the young actress playing Kara Zor-El, spent most of her recent interviews talking about everything except the actual adventure on screen. In one Vanity Fair profile, she said, "It definitely made me aware that simply existing as a woman in that space is something that people comment on. We have become very comfortable having this weird ownership of women's bodies. I can't really stop them. I can only be myself." In other stops, she spoke about Supergirl potentially having a queer through line, about how the character doesn't live inside the binary of what people think a woman should be, and about preemptively blaming any criticism on misogyny and Christian dads. Almost none of those interviews spent real time selling the story, the flying sequences, the dog crypto, or why audiences should care about this version of the character. The movie opened to a soft $38 million domestically and has only crawled to around $115 million worldwide so far, against a massive budget. While it's still in theaters, the conversation is already about the interviews, more than the film. This isn't new. 2 years earlier, Rachel Zegler did almost the exact same thing with Disney's Snow White. In a 2022 Extra TV interview, she said,
The original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
Yeah.
Weird. So we didn't do that this time.
She repeatedly called the 1937 classic extremely dated on women in power and framed her version as the necessary modern empowerment story. The comments resurfaced hard during the actual press tour. By the time the movie came out, large parts of the audience had already decided they were being lectured instead of entertained. Disney even had to hire a social media guru for her, increase security for co-star Gal Gadot after threats spiked, and try, with limited success, to control her posts after she mixed free Palestine messaging into film promotion and later posted anti-Trump comments that risked alienating half the potential audience. These two cases sit inside a longer pattern that keeps repeating. Katherine Heigl, while promoting Knocked Up in 2007, told Vanity Fair the movie she was starring in was a little sexist, saying it painted women as shrews, humorless and uptight, while the men were lovable goofballs. The industry turned on her overnight, and her career never fully recovered. Megan Fox, while promoting Transformers in 2009, compared director Michael Bay to Hitler in a Wonderland magazine interview. He wants to be like Hitler on his sets, and he is. Steven Spielberg reportedly ordered her fired from the franchise. Blake Lively's 2024 press tour for It Ends With Us became another textbook example of how off-message comments and tone-deaf moments can turn a big adaptation into a public relations disaster. In each instance, the star used the platform the studio gave them to critique, lecture, or reframe the project instead of selling it. To understand why this keeps happening, we need to look at the history of celebrity PR failures. Hollywood has been here before, and the lessons are still being ignored. In 2005, Tom Cruise jumped on Oprah's couch while gushing about Katie Holmes. What should have been a joyful interview became a viral symbol of mania and Scientology weirdness. His public image took years to recover, and studios quietly started treating him with more caution for a while. Mel Gibson's drunken, anti-Semitic rant during a 2006 DUI arrest destroyed his career for nearly a decade. Charlie Sheen's 2011 winning media meltdown after being fired from 2.5 Men turned him into a punchline. Paula Deen's N-word scandal in 2013 cost her a Food Network empire. Prince Andrew's 2019 Newsnight interview about Jeffrey Epstein is still studied as one of the worst crisis management failures in modern history. He came across as completely out of touch, and the royal family has never fully recovered from the damage. What all these historical failures have in common is the same mistake we see with Alcock and Zegler. The talent, or the people around them, forgot that the audience is not a captive classroom. When a star turns a promotional platform into a personal monologue, a lecture, or a bizarre performance, the public recoils. The best PR teams in history understood this. They pulled stars offline, issued short, focused statements, and flooded the media with positive work-related content. The worst teams did the opposite. They went silent, blamed haters, or let the star dig deeper. Silence almost always makes the fire bigger. Defensiveness turns temporary embarrassment into permanent brand damage. Look at how different the outcomes were when teams actually managed the crisis well. Robert Downey Jr. spent years in legal and personal freefall, but once he got clean, he never stopped talking about the work and the redemption. His comeback was one of the greatest in Hollywood history because the PR stayed relentlessly focused on the films. Hugh Grant, after the 1995 Divine Brown scandal, issued a sincere apology on late-night television and then got back to charming audiences. The stars who survive these moments treat the crisis as temporary noise and the work as permanent. The ones who don't treat the crisis as their new identity. Today's failures feel even more expensive because social media multiplies every clip. A bad interview that once died after one news cycle now lives forever in YouTube compilations and X threads. Yet the basic rules of good celebrity PR crisis management have not changed. Act fast, take limited ownership, redirect to the product, and never let the star become the villain of their own movie's story. The real cost is bigger than any single box office number. Every time a star turns promotion into a lecture, they teach audiences that the movie is secondary. They make it harder for the next original story, the next ambitious swing, to get a fair hearing. They also make it harder for the genuinely talented people who just want to make and sell great films without the political filter. So here's the lesson we need to learn, and learn fast. The job of a press tour is not to educate the public, not to fix society, not to perform your personal politics, and not to prove how enlightened you are. The job of a press tour is to make people want to buy a ticket. Full stop. Everything else is secondary. You can have every progressive belief in the world. You can care deeply about representation and empowerment. But when the cameras are rolling for a multi-$100 million movie, the smartest, most professional, most respectful thing you can do for the hundreds of people who worked on that film is to talk about the film. Sell the story, sell the fun, sell the reason anyone should care. Save the deeper lectures for your personal Instagram, your podcast, or a think piece after the theatrical run is secure. Studios need to retrain their talent. Talk about the movie first, last, and in between. Interviewers need to stop baiting for viral political soundbites and start asking about craft and process. Actors who genuinely care about representation could save those conversations for later. The ones who want to stay pure to the source material should be allowed to celebrate it without apology. And the industry could start rewarding stars who generate genuine excitement instead of viral outrage. A single great junket moment about how hard it was to film the flying sequences or how much they love the original comics does more for ticket sales than 10 carefully worded statements about modern identity. I keep thinking about the people who still make films the old way, the directors who fight for their vision, the writers who pour real-life experience onto the page, the actors who walk into an interview and just light up talking about the work. Those are the voices that fill seats. Those are the ones who make us care. Supergirl and Snow White didn't fail only because of interviews, but the interviews made a hard climb even steeper. When the promotion forgets that audiences showed up for a story, the story suffers. If you're out there writing, directing, or acting without the big machine behind you, keep going. Make the thing that feels true. Promote it with the same honesty. The industry is slowly learning the hard way that audiences are done being lectured during the theatrical window. When that lesson finally sticks, the creators who never stopped focusing on the story will be the ones still standing. And that day can't come soon enough.